Hello and welcome back to another episode of Like Isaiah. To give you a little backstory, I'm a black gay male born and raised in the South with a religious upbringing. So, what you're seeing now is me kind of tell my story little bits by pieces and reveal all the trauma and everything that has just plagued my life. Before I get back to the trauma, this is a good, like, funny story. And this is about a time where I went to Atlanta with my best friend, and we went to Atlanta a lot. Like, like that's our thing. Like, it's nothing for us to be like, let's go get drunk and be whores. Let's go to Atlanta. So, backstory: Atlanta is like, or was like me and my best friend, like when we wanted to go out just for like a quick weekend and have a good time, because we lived in places that aren't as progressive, it's not as much of a melting pot. We would just go to Atlanta. Like, you want to get drunk, you want to go rent a hotel room and get drunk and go party all night, and then be sluts and whores. Yes, please sign me up. So at the time, my best friend, he lived in Charlotte and I lived in Columbia. So that's about an hour and a half. Charlotte, North Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina is like an hour and a half from each other. So we had planned to go to Atlanta, which is cool. So get there, and like, this trip had so many problems. Like, we've been to Atlanta so many times, but this one trip, like, we still talk about to this day because it was just plagued by so many issues and so many problems. Like, what is going on? The universe was trying to tell us not to even go. So he was going to be the token driver. We were taking his vehicle this time. I went up to him, and then we were going to leave from where he lives to go to Atlanta. Now, that's a double-edged sword because my best friend, he's kind of a wild driver. He's a little bit unhinged. Like, he's one of those ones that make you like hit the invisible brake and like grab the thing. He's like kind of one of those drivers. So I still get on him to this day about like, why are you driving so crazy? Like, can you relax? I was on the passenger side of my best friend's ride trying to holler at me. And I was like, I'm just gonna take me a little cat nap. So I take me a little cat nap because I think it was like a 3.5 hour drive from where he lived. So 3.5 hour drive, and like, I'm half asleep, but I can hear him say something like, "They getting ready to pull me. The police pulling me," and like I'm half awake, so I'm kind of like, "Wait, what?" And almost aggravated for many different reasons. Firstly, being because I was getting woken up out of my sleep, and for two, his driving getting ready to get us in trouble. So I thought. Now let's back up a little bit because before we left, he had just gotten new license plates, but okay, this was my fault. He had just gotten new license plates, and I was just kind of like, no, let's just go. Like, we already wasted so much time. I'm just ready to get there. So he wanted to put his plates on, and I was like, no, let's just go ahead and go, and you can put it on when you get there. So they pull him over because his plates were like expired. He had something funky going on with his plates, but he had the other one in the car. We were just going to change it once we got there. And so I'm annoyed, like I said, and I'm like, what the hell did you do now that you're getting us pulled over with your wild and crazy driving? At this point, I'm awake. Well, I'm not really like awake. Like, I'm still kind of like in a daze, not really paying attention until the damn police officer come and they flashing the flashlights in the car, and like that ignorant, annoying blue light that the police officers flash, like that's gonna wake anybody up. It's gonna be like, can I have warm lighting? This, first of all, this light isn't even flattering on me. So can I have like a nice warm light? And ironically, it was a black cop. Goes over to the driver's side and is talking to my friend. Like I said, I'm not really paying attention because I just think it's like a routine traffic stop. I didn't like think like all hell was getting ready to break loose. It's been a lot of hell breaking loose in my life. Like, okay, so Loki, I think that the cop actually liked my best friend. I think he kind of had like a thing, and me and my best friend, we were talking about this. Like, I think he was kind of coming on to you and trying to figure out what the dynamic of our relationship is. Because for some reason, like, even though I'm not the most masculine guy, my best friend, he identifies as feminine. Like, he's a feminine boy, and I guess I have my feminine ways, but out of the two of us, I would be perceived as more masculine presenting. So when two people see that and they don't know our personalities, a lot of times they may think we're actually like together, and they try to like figure that out. So he was asking them questions, and he was saying like funny stuff. Like, me and my best friend, we were laughing about this too. He was like, he kept trying to figure out what my best friend identified as. Like, is it ma'am, or, and then my best friend would be like, no, it's sir. And he's like, well, I'm just trying to be respectful. So we were just kind of like, but he already told you he identifies as he, him, his. Like, he uses those pronouns. So then another cop comes up, and it's actually a white cop, comes up and is like asking me questions and stuff like that. And like, first of all, I didn't even know that they were partnered. Like I didn't know it was two of them. So at this point, I'm awake. Like I'm like, okay, what's going on? And this is the backstory. I had devil's lettuce. I had the devil's lettuce with me, not on my person or not in like the cabin, but it was in the trunk. It was in my bag. They separated us. They took my best friend out the car and they left me in. And so they're asking him questions, and this is secondhand information because obviously I'm not in the car. I'm not outside the car. I'm in the car. So they're asking him questions, and I think personally the black cop wanted to separate us to really like talk to my best friend to kind of like pick his brains a little bit. So yeah, they separated us and they're asking them questions, and then the white cop comes on the passenger side and was asking me questions like where are you going and et cetera, et cetera. I guess to see if our stories matched, which that was actually a really smart tactic to separate us to so we couldn't like really corroborate the story. You know what I'm saying? So chin up, thumbs up. That was a good call right there, law enforcement. Good call. They asked me to get out the car, so I get out the car and it's freezing because at this point, like, I don't remember what month it was, but it was like in between, let's say October between October of like 1 year to like maybe February, March, because that's when it's cold. And I remember it being cold, and I remember standing outside and being freezing, like oh my gosh. And then when you cops pull you over, people are looking, so it's kind of like embarrassing, and especially because we were two black guys standing outside of the car. If I was driving by, I would be like, oh yeah, y'all motherfuckers going to jail. Y'all going to jail. He asked me a question. He was like, this is where he got me. This is where the cop got me because he asked me. He was like, do you guys have any party favors or anything like that? And my dumbass, I was like, well, what do you consider party favors? That's where he got me. That's where he got me because now he was like, okay, so they got something. They have something. So we got to figure out what it actually is. Is it something illegal or is it something just like, is it something like benign and like you can't go to jail for it? So that's where they got me. So my best friend was off. Like I would say he was probably about maybe 15 to 16 feet from me. So like I could see him, and like at this point even another cop had pulled up. So I'm definitely panicking like, "Oh my gosh, we are going to jail." I don't know why, but we are going to jail. Well, I kind of knew why. And he was like, do you have any like you have anything on you?" And so I was like, "Well, yeah, I have the devil's lettuce inside the trunk." All hell broke loose. All good mighty hell broke loose. They getting on the radios. They saying all these police shit. And I'm looking at my best friend like he's looking shocked. Like, what the fuck did you just say? But in my defense, when he asked me, when the cop came back and he asked me again, like what we had or what was going on, I assumed that my best friend had told him. I assumed that my best friend had told him that, like, I had this inside the trunk. And it wasn't a lot. It was like maybe like a blunt and a half. So he was at, like, it was pure chaos. Like, at this point, other police cars are pulling up, lights are flashing, and I'm just thinking, like, oh my gosh, we are going to jail. And at this point, we weren't even in South Carolina anymore. So we are going to jail in Georgia. Like a whole different state where I don't have any resources. I don't know anybody. I mean, I do have a sister that lives in Georgia, but like my home was much further away. Our home was much further away. We were much further away from home. So like he's looking shocked and I'm looking like, well, what did I just do? Because like I said, I thought he had told him, and I thought the reason that the cop was asking me was just kind of reaffirm. And plus, you guys know I have a terrible habit of oversharing, and I have a terrible habit of just saying way too much. I'm working on it, and I'm getting better. That at this point, I'm not saying shit unless you fucking ask me. At this point, they're even going through our stuff. And that was so embarrassing. Because like I said, we were going to Atlanta to be some sluts and whores and to get drunk and party. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we were trying to go out to the club and leave with people. Like, that's what we were going to do. Well, that's what I was going to do. Having somebody going through your luggage and like they see all of like your jock straps and just kind of like, oh my gosh. Like, oh my gosh. I wonder what these cops are thinking right now. Like, knowing me, I probably would have been somewhat fascinated, but I know these cops are like, what are these guys doing? And then they found the devil's lettuce going through our stuff. and they were actually really nice. I guess they kind of saw like we weren't radicals. We were just going out to have a good time, and thankfully we had not lit up or anything prior to getting. I'm so glad that we did not like light up because we would have gone to jail. But the fact that it was just kind of in the trunk and like we was just going somewhere. I think they let us off easy. They just made us destroy it, which if y'all are fans of the Devil's Lettuce, losing it or just having to get rid of it for like really no apparent reason other than like lighting up and going through it, it hurts. I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, that means when I get to there, I'm gonna have to try to find more, and I destroy it on the spot. I destroy it on the spot. So they let us go. They don't take us in. They don't book us, which was a blessing in disguise. You know, there when it comes to like law enforcement, with me, my experiences have always been reasonably positive. I don't, a lot of people say that they don't have good experiences with law enforcement, but anytime like with me, like they've always let me off the hook. They always like were nice and kind to me, and as a black man, that's not something I take lightly because a lot of black people don't have that experience and they don't have the kind of positive experience that I've had. But yeah, so they ended up letting us off. We go about our merry way and we're just talking about everything, and like my best friend is chewing me like, why you want to say this? I didn't say they can't go inside the thing without probable cause. They can't go inside. But I was wet behind the ears. I didn't know, and like I said, I'm an habitual overshare. So I'm just kind of like, well, if I say it, then maybe the consequences won't be as dire to if I don't say it and they find it anyway. So I was kind of thinking like that, but now I guess I know like they can't go through your stuff unless they have a reason to. But yeah, that's a wrap. It's a wrap for your baby. Have you guys ever had any kind of similar situations like this? Like where you almost go to jail, but the universe is looking out for you and you don't go to jail, so you don't have a mugshot out there? If you like funny story times, and as I continue to like unpack this situation of my life of being this black male growing up in the South and with societal pressures and religious pressures and family pressures and stuff like that. Can you relate? Like, let me know your experiences. Have you ever been to Atlanta at a party? It's a good time in it. But thank you so much for watching this with me, and go ahead and comment and subscribe and let me know what you think. And all I got to say is, don't go to jail like Isaiah. Will you be